Battle Chess was originally released on the Commodore Amiga in 1988. 1 year later, numerous other platforms got a version of it, including the NES, which is the version we're going to be looking at today. Battle Chess is, well, it's chess, but it's not just a simple incarnation of the famous board game. The pieces are personified and will walk to the desired square you choose. Each piece has its own animation, speed, and sound effects as it travels across the board. Sometimes they move a little too slow. The queen, king, and knight in particular are guilty of being on the slow side. But the king can only move one square per move, so that's forgivable. But the queen can go as many spaces as she wants, so waiting on her can be time-consuming. Come on, move faster, you bitch! The knight is even slower, and when it jumps other pieces, they move out of the way for him, which is amusing, but waiting 15 seconds for one move to play out can test your patience. Chess is a game of patience anyway, but this will drag the game on a little longer than it should. When you take one of your opponent's pieces, you'll get to see a battle sequence where the two pieces duke it out, and obviously the piece that is taken is the one that falls. And you won't get the same old battle every time. For every combination of pieces there's a different sequence. For example, every time a pawn takes another pawn, you'll see the same battle, but it'll be much different when the pawn takes a knight. There are 35 different sequences altogether, and you can watch all of them on the montage video I made. So button A selects the piece you want to move and the location to move it to, and B cancels your selection if you haven't moved already. Holding B will also show you all the possible moves for the highlighted piece. Pressing select will bring up a menu where you can tinker around with some options. It's in drop-down fashion, so you can tell this isn't much different from the computer version. Under Move, you can manipulate the game to your choosing. New Game obviously starts the game over. Setup Board lets you put any piece in any place of the board you want. You can even have a shitload of queens and just massacre your opponent. The only restrictions here are that you can't exceed 16 pieces on each side. You have a maximum of 8 for one particular piece. Each side must have a king. The pawns can't be in the front or back row, and you can't set up a king in check. Take Back will let you take back your last move. Replay shows an instant replay of the last battle sequence, and Suggest Move will offer a suggestion of where your next move should be. Settings let you toggle who's human and computer, and also gives you the option to play the traditional two-dimensional pieces. The game goes by faster here, but what's the point? Might as well just drag out the actual chessboard. Then you can select between 6 difficulty levels when facing the computer. I think they should have adjusted this a little. I'm no master chessman or anything, but I like to think that I'm alright. I've played several of the digital chessboards and was able to become pretty evenly matched with some of the later levels. But in Battle Chess, even the novice level is frustrating. You'd think that the easiest level would be pretty easy and a good option for beginners and kids, but it's a pain in the ass. It doesn't fall for any of your tricks and always seems to be one step ahead of you. Despite the depth in the options department, one thing you can't do is alter the rules. Some play under different rules, kind of like how some people use the free parking space in Monopoly to award the player with all the saved up tax money, and some people don't use that rule. In Battle Chess, you can castle your king and use pawns to take other pawns horizontally. Some people don't use those rules, but you have to when playing this game. The graphics aren't anything special, but that's pretty unimportant in this game.
The original Donkey Kong. It's a classic. The arcade version was only 4 levels long, but back then that seemed like a lot. The NES version, which is now available via the Wii's Virtual Console, is only 3 levels. But what it lacks in length, it makes up for with a plucky plumber, a giant ape, and a damsel in distress. Mario wasn't Super yet. In fact, he could be killed by just about anything. Actually, he wasn't even Mario yet, but Jumpman, probably because he did so much jumping in the game. If you played the sequel, you'll recognize this little squirt as DK Jr. In this game, Mario's the villain. He's planning on making bushmeat out of Donkey Kong, and only DK Jr. can save him. His ability to climb vines added a new layer to the platforming gameplay of the original. Then came the inevitable Donkey Kong 3, which mixes things up with a bizarre new game design where you had to keep pesky insects at bay. Mario has been replaced by a generic hero armed with a can of Raid, and strangely enough, it plays something like Galaga. If you had especially mean parents, you may have played the next game in this series, the abomination called Donkey Kong Jr. Math. After that, Donkey Kong disappeared for a while. But icons never die, they only fade away. DK re-emerged with Donkey Kong Country, a shiny new platformer by Rare. But since you probably know all about this one, let's just skip it. One question though. Whatever happened to Donkey Kong Jr. anyway? Did he just appear out of nowhere? Are we to believe he's stuck in some lab somewhere, still trying to pass Donkey Kong Jr. math, or what? And what's up with that title? If you prescribe to Darwin's theory of evolution, you'll notice that the characters in this game belong to the primate branch of the biological tree. The last time I checked, donkeys are related to horses, not apes. So where the hell does Donkey come from in the title Donkey Kong? Kong, well, that part was clearly ripped off, stolen, pilfered from King Kong, and MGM, the studio behind that movie, even sued Nintendo back when the game was a success for copyright infringement. They lost, and Nintendo raked it in. It seems the donkey part was a mistranslation of the original title, which was Monkey Kong, but when the game became a big hit, it was too late to fix it, and the donkey part just sort of stuck. Well, I could talk all day about this series, but let's get to the best Donkey Kong game ever. No, not Donkey Kong Hockey for the Game & Watch. It's not nearly as awesome as it sounds, or its going price on eBay might suggest. Released for the Game Boy, DK94 brought back the original formula in a big way, with Kong nabbing Pauline, Mario's main squeeze. It's up to Mario to save her, and if he wants to win Pauline's favor, stop to pick up her hat, parasol, and purse along the way. The only problem is, DK locks the door behind him wherever he goes, so Mario has to find a key in each level if he's to catch up with him. Each level presents a unique challenge, and the game has an outstanding 101 stages, containing the usual assortment of hammers and springs. But now, Mario can jump 3 times in a row, each jump getting progressively higher. He can perform backflips, handstands, and even grab onto wires to perform amazing acrobatic maneuvers. There are also arrow blocks that, when touched, allow the player to position and build vertical ladders or horizontal pathways to success, presenting some very challenging timing-based puzzles in and of themselves, believe me. Of course, it's the combination of all these new skills that allows Mario to take on vast platforming challenges and all new enemies on his way to rescuing Pauline. Once Mario has found the key, it must be physically carried to the locked door. If he drops the key, or is forced to throw the key to win his objective, such as onto a conveyor belt to underpass an obstacle, he must collect it again before a timer runs out, or the key resets to its original position. On top of that, there is a clock ticking down, and if the time runs out, it's game over, man. Game over! Levels are broken up sporadically by boss stages wherein Donkey Kong, and sometimes Jr., throw the proverbial monkey wrench into Mario's rescue operation. Thankfully, losing lives isn't a big deal, as there's a near infinite number of chances to be won in the several slot machine-style minigames. Donkey Kong 94 is light years ahead of the original in just about every way, from the charming graphics, which include some color if played on a Super Game Boy, to the catchy music. But more importantly is the super addictive and fun game design. With enough satisfying puzzle platforming to occupy anyone for many moons, DK94 is easily the best Donkey Kong game ever. Trust me, you owe it to yourself to play it. If you can't find it, you may want to try Mario vs. Donkey Kong on GBA or March of the Minis on DS, but despite their spiffier graphics, it's just not the same. Hopefully we'll see it released onto the Wii's Virtual Console, should Nintendo add Game Boy to the roster. Well, that's the review. Still, I really do wonder what happened to Donkey Kong Jr. He hasn't started a game in like 20 years. I'm worried about the little guy.